Hello, and welcome to On My Shelf. Today I'm talking about an upper middle grade novel that examines the life of a 14-year-old boy with anorexia in a raw, emotional, very real, and sometimes funny way. The Year I Didn't Eat by Samuel Pollan is about a character named Max who struggles with disordered eating. Max's therapist makes him keep a journal in which he confesses his feelings to Anna, his eating disorder, anorexia. In addition to his sometimes humorous letters, Max tells the story of his year struggling to learn how to live with anorexia. His brother Robin gives him a geocache box where Max stores his journal and the letters to Anna. And throughout the story, he finds that someone writes him back. So he spends time trying to figure out who's writing back, a mystery that takes the back seat when Max's family unit completely fractures. His brother moves out, and his parents are in danger of splitting up. Max thought he had Anna under control, but as his life veers out of control, he has to figure out whether he'll let anorexia control him forever. Samuel Pollan was published by my first publisher about 6 months after my first book. He's a lovely person, lives in London, and works as a copywriter when he's not writing books. I adored this book for several reasons, and here are the top ones. Number 1, Max. Max was such an endearing character with a good sense of humor, a relatable personality, and fun friends. You really rooted for him all the way through it. Number 2, the accurate portrayal of anorexia. I have never read a book with a more accurate picture of what it's like to live with anorexia. So I appreciated Pollan's truth and his vulnerability in sharing something that he also struggles with. Number 3, no fairy tale ending tied up just so. Without giving anything away, I felt like Pollan landed the book right where it needed to land. He contributed to an accurate portrayal of life with eating disorders. It's not one and done. Hey, you're cured. It's work. From a craft perspective, I found several things to admire. The first was the letters. The letters that Max put in the geocache box broke up the narrative and allowed for a dip into Max's emotions without clogging up the story with long descriptions. And they also added a little bit of humor. I also felt like the pacing was spot on. It's a 400-page book, but it felt a whole lot shorter. And I've mentioned it before, but there was no happily ever after. I'm always skeptical of stories that end happily ever after, and I think kids are too. Kids, especially by 13 or 14, already know that there's no such thing. So here's what I think we can take away from The Year I Didn't Eat. Humor. This book examined a very serious subject. People die of anorexia. Pollan managed to include humor, which made room for the serious subject matter, so it wasn't overwhelming for the reader. Number 2, information. Throughout his narrative, Max dropped details about anorexia, details all those who wrestle with anorexia already know, such as calorie counts, systems that shut down when you haven't eaten, and the battle with the scale. This book becomes a window. It helps people who have never struggled with anorexia understand what it's like. Number 3, using everything we know. Pollan writes from personal experience. Sometimes we have these places or experiences that are off limits for our writing, and that's okay for a time. But this book reminds me to be brave and share. That's it for today's On My Shelf. If you're interested in an author's perspective on books, movies, and sometimes TV shows, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.